Well, hey there, friend, and welcome back for another episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast, where I'm your host and your hair mentor, Crystal Green. And I invite you to come take a listen to the top leaders and thinkers and experts and innovators in the beauty industry as they share their stories of triumph and struggles and success in creating their businesses behind the chair. I hope you enjoy these episodes just as much as I did recording them. See you on the inside, friends.
Maddi, I don't know a lot about you, but I know a little. And so I know you're in Portugal right now. Is that right?
At the minute, yeah, I am this week. We come here
Okay.
quite often. Yeah, we come here like twice a year.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So are you
Yeah.
vacationing then or?
Yeah, so I'm here at the moment. I come here with my husband and his dad. So he's had like a timeshare, which I kind of think's a thing in the States, maybe more than it is here, but he's had two for like years, like literally since like the 70s. So he just comes to his holiday place like twice a year. So we've been here a bunch, which makes it feel a bit less like vacation. Like it's just a very nice place to do work and get caught up and read and stuff like that. But yeah, we travel a lot. We're really lucky to be able to travel fairly often.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
How warm is it there right now?
I can only do Celsius. I can't do your temperature, but it's like 29 degrees. So like I was in LA for February, but it snowed and everyone absolutely lost their minds. People were literally screaming. Um, we were in a shop and it started to like snow a bit outside and people like ran up to the window. They were like filming it.
Yeah.
Everyone lost the ability to drive. Like no
Yeah.
one could
Yeah.
deal with it. And I was like, yeah, we have this at home all the time. Um, it's much warmer than that. Like comparatively, it's really nice. It's probably, I don't know, maybe like 80 degrees over there. I'm not really sure what the
I'm not
conversion is, but
either. I'm like, math is
it's
not my
hot.
strong suit. Yeah. Oh, that sounds
Not for this,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Where I live, it's been snowing a ton. We've had a very long
Oh,
winter,
really?
and now it's
Yeah.
finally spring weather. And I'm like, oh, I feel like a lizard. I'm just out
I
in the
bet you
sun
can't wait.
soaking it up. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So good. Where are you? Where are you
I'm in
based from?
Reno, Nevada.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we were just in Vegas in
Okay.
October. Yeah.
So I'm like 8 hours north of there if you were to
Oh,
drive.
really?
Hmm.
This is such a British thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I was like down the road, and yeah, in the States, it's like, yeah,
Everyone
that's
does
not
that
close.
though too. Yeah, Nevada's funny. There's only really two like large towns or cities in
Yeah,
Nevada. It's Vegas and Reno
yeah,
is like
yeah,
the little sister to Vegas. And then other than that,
yeah.
it's a very unpopulated state, so there's not a whole lot in between.
Yeah, that's all people that
Yeah.
go. They're either go to chill or they're going to go and lose all of their money and
Yeah,
drink a lot.
exactly.
Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, Maddie, I'm excited that you wanted to talk to me today. I don't know if you follow me on social media. Did you see the reel I made the other day about pricing?
No, tell me all about it.
Okay,
This sounds up
so I
my
have
street.
this. It's right up your alley. I have this
Yeah.
kind of like alter ego that I've been having fun with
Hmm.
lately, and she embodies, I feel like, all of the bad advice that's out there.
Yes, I love that.
Right. And so her advice on pricing, her name is Cristal, by the way.
Crystal with an
Yeah,
accent. Yeah.
exactly. She advises hairstylists to just charge as much as possible. And if their clients can't pay it, fuck them.
Yeah, like
Right?
screw them. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so I was like, well, this is perfect because I just posted this the other day. And so to bring someone on that specializes in pricing is like very, I didn't even plan it this way, but it just worked out very nicely.
Just
So,
happened. I love that.
so tell me your
Mm.
theory that is probably the opposite of Cristal's theory
Crystals, yeah.
about hairstylists and how they should price themselves. Because this is
Yeah,
something that a lot of people are talking about now, and there's a lot of
yeah.
bad advice out there, and there's some altering advice too. So I want to know what
Yeah.
you
I
think.
I would say I wouldn't say I'm the opposite because I think the opposite from Crystals would be like charge the lowest price that you can possibly charge.
Right.
So I'd say I'm like, which is also bad advice. I would say that I'm like in the medium. I'd probably say I'm medium slightly towards Crystal, but there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of like other stuff at play. So my overarching theory with pricing is that like 10% of it is the numbers, 90% of it is your own mindset, your own bullshit, your own limiting beliefs, society, family, all of this. stuff that really holds you back.
Hmm.
If it was just the numbers, everyone's price would be fine.
Right.
It's to get people to the point to even consider their numbers. My never-ending battle, which I do I love to do it because it's, I really care about the industry, is to just change people's mind, to just be like, why do we believe this? Like, what do I have to tell you before you'll believe me that it will be okay to, just to charge more, or that all your clients won't leave, that you can do it in a particular location, that people won't think you're a dick or that you're greedy, or just to let people believe that they deserve to make money. Like it's so bizarre. I think it's possibly worse in the UK, but I'm not sure. I feel like in the States there's a bigger disparity between the people who charge a lot and the people who don't charge very much.
Yes, I would agree.
Whereas whereas for me back home, the majority of people just don't charge enough. So I
Mm.
find that interesting as well, looking at like different areas and their like approach to this. But yeah, my theory is we deserve to respect ourselves and have that reflected in our price. But so much of it comes from the psychology and the beliefs that we have. And a massive amount comes from value articulation, which I know that you're big on. I've seen that you do posts about this, and learning how to communicate and get a client so they perceive the correct level of value, like as it relates to them. I think that's massive. And when you can
Yes.
really nail those kind of three things, like the numbers, the value articulation, the mindset, you're golden. Like life will become much easier.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So in the United States here, I think at least the people in my circle and
Mhm.
my exposure to people in the industry seems like there's been a push in the last 5 years or so for brand new hairstylists to come out of beauty school and immediately be charging the highest luxury end prices. There are definitely still a lot of stylists that are not charging enough for their services, and they're,
Mm-hmm.
working 14-hour days and barely making ends meet. But it seems like there's more people
Mm-hmm.
that are almost overcharging in a way, and then not
Oh,
providing.
interesting words. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Well, okay, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
end up with unhappy clients that are they're like a revolving door. They can't seem to keep a clientele because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think, in my opinion, they are offering the value of what they're charging for.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of clients I've spoken to, I've kind of positioned myself in an interesting way that I've been like a
Yeah,
liaison for clients to come to me and talk to me about their problems. And I've helped coach them even to find a hairstylist or talk to their hairstylist.
that's
And
cool. I love that. Yeah.
thank you. It's kind of where this whole idea of like your hair mentor started.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like more often than not, clients are disappointed because they're like, I'm happy to pay to get
Mm-hmm.
good hair. But a lot of the times I'm paying and I'm getting the hair that seems like it isn't worth that. And
Gotcha.
so,
So they're not getting the value either because the person's maybe over promising and under delivering, perhaps,
yes,
or maybe there's a communication thing, or maybe there's something around unrealistic expectations. I think this might be the same in the States, but in the UK, we're terrible for like people pleasing and being very mindful of like other people's reactions, and we're so terrified of pissing someone off, upsetting someone, hurting someone's feelings. So we won't have clear conversations. We won't, do anything that we perceive to be like, we're very like conflict avoidant.
yes,
Whereas when I was behind the chair, if someone showed me something, I'd be like, fuck no. Like, no, I'm not doing it. It's not going to work.
yeah,
It will look horrible. You won't maintain it. Like, let's work on something that's going to be
right,
like make a bit more sense. Um, Weirdly, that did really well for me for business because it really accelerated trust. People were like, people love it. They love to hear no,
yes,
or
yes,
like, yeah, or like not yet, or no, but instead let's try this. And I wonder if that's the challenge with these people who are kind of new, who they're coming from this scarcity place of, I want to take all the clients, I want to say yes to everyone, that maybe they are overestimating what they're capable of, or saying yes I can do this, or maybe stretching the expectations. So I wonder if it's a little bit of that. I'd be interested to like hear the perception from the other side as well, from the client's perspective.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's what's happening. And I am actually scheduled to go speak to a bunch of beauty colleges locally
Oh,
because
cool.
I want to ask these students, like,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see yourself after you graduate and how do you expect your business to go? And I want to know, like, are they coming into the industry just assuming that they need to charge top
Hmm.
dollar in order
Yeah,
to survive, or do they think that that's what they're supposed to do?
yeah.
I think there should be kind of a natural progression as you gain knowledge and expertise, and then you build your clientele. Then you realize like, wow, I'm worth more. I need
Hmm.
to charge accordingly, and then I'm
Hmm.
providing that value of that service. I've learned communication skills, I've learned
Yeah,
hair skills, and all the things. So I guess I'm just kind of I'm curious what is
yeah.
happening.
Yeah, I think for
Yeah,
me it would be about getting that point right. My concern is that people lowball. So I hear what you're saying, that there's people who are kind of going a bit high, but
yeah,
my concern would be that people tend to act like a pendulum. They're like, well, if I'm not here, I'm the polar opposite, which I don't want. I don't want people coming out of school charging nothing. That's what I did, and it was so harmful and detrimental to my business. I also made a post about this the other week. For me, it attracted two types of clients, like someone really very on a budget who was really price sensitive, like a really nice person, but like would
uh-oh, I lost you for a second there. We're having a little technical difficulty here.
oh yeah,
Let's see if we can get Maddie back here.
oh,
Okay, I see you. I see you now. I lost you for a second there.
yeah.
Nope, nope.
See if I can
Let's see.
yeah, let me
You're
just
still.
switch over to
Let's see if I can. I'm good on my end. I'm wondering if it's just a Wi-Fi thing. Testing, testing.
am I back?
Okay, I see you now, and you're moving. You're not frozen anymore.
I'm moving. Yeah, yeah. I've just switched to like a hotspot because the Wi-Fi is not great. Is that
Oh,
better?
traveling problems.
Yeah, yeah. I try and sit like so still that I don't lose the internet. Or
Yeah.
magic. That
Okay,
should be
let me.
okay. Usually my phone's fine.
Okay, yeah, you seem fine now. Okay, so where did you leave off? You were talking
So
about.
just about like the two types of clients, that was it.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
So
please.
yeah, so there's client type one where they're on a really tight budget, they're very price sensitive, so they will leave the second the price goes up by like a penny, and they're also, looking out for other deals and offers, and or they're hopping around, which is really hard. There's nothing worse than doing someone's hair when they've been to like five other people and then they go and come back and go away and come back. It sucks. And the other type of person for me that it attracted was just not a nice person. Like, and I kind of always believe that like respect's like a mirror. Like people reflect back at you the level of respect that you have. And in business, respect looks like charging properly, having policies, upholding policies, respecting your time, respecting your expertise, um, all of that kind of stuff. And when I wasn't doing that by charging very little, not taking deposits, not charging people, for being late or working crazy hours, that was almost like a magnet for really disrespectful people. So I found that very hard. And that was a revolving door, like you say, because I just wasn't keeping people. They were not loyal people. They were looking around and also causing a lot of like psychological distress, as these people do, because they're
Yes.
kind of assholes. Um, and what I then found was very hard, because I felt like I'd sort of established this as my business, to then putting the prices up after that just felt really hard. So I kind of wish that I'd have come in, not crazy high, but a lot higher, and just kind of started off as I meant to go on. But in the education that I do with pricing, so I have a pricing calculator and maths. I really love maths because you can't argue with it. Like it's just right. like,
Yeah, yeah.
like you can be pissed about it. You can be maybe sad that you haven't, that you've seen how much you may be undercharging by, but you just can't dispute it. And what I find when people are faced with the correct numbers, the accurate math, is that that gives them a lot of confidence to be like, well, I have to charge this, because if I don't get to have this many weeks off. I don't get to go on this vacation, or I'll have to work 80 hours a week. So there are so many different pieces to it, isn't it? It's just not as easy as saying just do the numbers, or just do the mindset, or just do the value articulation, or just do the marketing. Like everything
Right.
has to work together. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. No, it's fascinating. And I feel like it's disappointing they don't teach this in beauty college more too. You
Yeah,
know,
I know.
like I understand the reason for the beauty school is just to prepare you to get your license, right? Which is a very
Hmm.
minimal requirement. But
Yeah.
I wish there was more of this, because then you get out into the workforce and you just kind of look
Hmm.
around you and go, well, she's charging this much, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
charge that much.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think even if, in the UK, the education system is geared up to kind of make you a good employee, it's not really set up to make you a great um self-employed person, or business person. But I still think, when I owned a salon with staff, if one of my staff joined me and said, I completely understand pricing, I completely understand numbers and profit margins and wastage and usage and utilization and all of this, I would be so happy to have that person, because that's a challenge even with an employed person, to get someone to kind of understand how those things, make an impact on the business. So I think even if people don't ever want to be self-employed in their life, they should still know this. Like it's still really helpful for them, and also really helpful for their potential employer. But yeah, I mean that would be my dream, is to have this sort of education to be required very, very early stages. Like what a different industry this would be across
Right.
the board. It would be phenomenal. Yeah.
It would. Okay, so you have hairstylists figure out what their expenses are in order to plug it into your pricing calculator, right?
Yeah. So expenses, goals, like how they work, future goals, like all of the math has to be mathing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to come up with the correct pricing. Yeah. And then, then you can go deeper into like tiered pricing. So, if you had a salon and someone was more established, like you say, or more experienced, whether you want to do hourly pricing, whether you want to do packages, like all of that can sit on top of that. But yeah, at the fundamental level,
Hmm.
everything that needs to be taken into account is taken into account. Because I think people miss things. And this is what happens when people think, well, I can just do this myself. I can just, do a quick calculation on the back of a napkin. Like, if you miss one thing people always do that grinds my gears, is they base it on a 52-week year. And I'm like, why are you working for 52 weeks of the year?
Right.
Or they'll just not put a break in. But I'm like, that means that every day that you take lunch, which you should take, that's 45 minutes, an hour. You were just on the back foot. And people just think of it, or they like apply employed logic to it. So they'll think, well, if I was employed, this is what I'd want to make. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're employed in the UK, you get 5.6 weeks paid holiday. Your employer pays your pension, you get holiday pay, maternity pay, sick pay. It's also like the risk element. Like you, as an employer, you are covered probably better in the UK than you on the States, but
Yeah.
you're not signing any leases, you're not signing on for insurance, you've not had to take a loan out to furnish your salon. So it's like getting people to shift out of this very basic, like two-dimensional employed mindset into this. Actually, there's so much more risk associated with being self-employed, and everything falls on you. And the scary thing about really the model of being a hairdresser is reliant on your physical
Yes.
wellness.
Yes.
I had back surgery at 31. I'd only been hairdressing for 12 years. Like that is a very short lifespan. Um, and it is time for money. You can only work as many hours as there are in a day. I hope that no one does work that much,
Yeah, yeah.
and as long as your body will allow you to do that. So thinking as well, like so many people I speak to have no provision whatsoever for the future. They've got no savings, no pension, no investments, no property, like no plan. It's very much like my head is in the sand. I just need to get through this week. And that is terrifying. Like that scares me, I think, more than anything, that mentality.
Yeah. I think that's what makes a lot of people leave the career. I think they get in
Absolutely, yeah.
and then they're like, what am I doing? Or they work really hard for like 5 years and they haven't saved
Hmm.
anything and they don't have
Hmm.
any plans for the future. And they just go, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. While
Yeah.
everyone else who got a job, who maybe, their complaint was, I'm working for the man, I'm doing 9 to 5. But yeah, they're now retiring and they've bought their home and they have a pension, they have money put away. So it's,
Yes.
you know, we have to be
And
so mindful of that.
and a system to, get raises in and promote in
Exactly,
and
yeah.
all that stuff
Yeah.
is not built into what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because in so many ways we mirror the employed mentality, but where it really counts, we conveniently forget.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. What one rule of thumb that I swear by is if you couldn't do it or it would be illegal to treat a minimum wage employee like that, don't treat yourself like that. So, for example, if your suppliers put their prices up, imagine going into work if you're employed in a salon and the boss says, Crystal, all of this stock's gone up, but we don't want to piss our clients off, so I'm just going to reduce your wage because we want to keep the prices right. You'd be like, fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely no way. I mean, it would be literally illegal, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
But that is what so many of us do when we don't pass on increases from, our booth rent or our overheads or our stock costs. You are literally, or even inflation, which has been crazy, the last couple of years.
Yeah.
When we absorb that, we are just giving ourselves pay cut, pay cut, pay cut. Yet you are getting better at your job. You are
Right.
becoming more experienced at your job. It makes absolutely no sense at all.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's so true. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think a lot of that is because we are naturally like people pleasers and we're
Hmm.
artists and we're like heart centered. And so all that
Yeah.
stuff is just kind of like outside of our daily life as
Yeah.
hairstylists, right? We don't want to think about it. We want to do the pretty
Yeah.
stuff and make the people feel good. And that stuff feels
Yeah.
like icky and not sexy.
Exactly that. And it's this kind of black and white thinking that I find so harmful because I don't know about you, but when I started really charging appropriately for the work that I did behind the chair, I became more joyful, more creative, more heart-centered than ever because I wasn't waking up miserable and pissed and resentful as I
Yes.
was when I wasn't charging enough. So it's almost like we believe this, you can be one or the other. You can be a nice person or you can make money. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, you can actually probably be not a nicer person, but money can allow you to do things like volunteer your time, donate, help other people out, start a foundation. Like there are immense things that you can do with money that I would argue will help you be quote unquote nicer.
Yeah.
Um, Having no money doesn't make it, and also you're a dick. Like I was awful when I was like skint and miserable because I was just pissed off all the time. So I wasn't even a nice person to be around. Um, and I'd be snappy and I'd very quickly blame everyone else. I'd blame the brands. I'd blame the stock companies. I'd blame the location, the government, the environment, everything. Before I was like, maybe the problem's me.
You're right.
Or at least, Taylor Swift had it right. Or,
Yeah.
or, at least just sort of taking some sort of control and thinking, I got myself into this. It sucks, but I can get myself out of it. Like responsibility and control are like the greatest things at our disposal, I think, for our success.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And they say
Yeah.
too that there's like things that can be done can be undone. And I wonder if you talk to people about sometimes it takes us years to get ourselves into these situations where you're like, oh no, what am I doing? And it might take
Mm-hmm.
a while to kind of back step out of it and then find yourself in a happy place.
Yeah.
And it's not just an overnight, like, okay, today I'm going to do all this stuff and change it and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen immediately. And that's not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
case, right? It
No,
can
not the
be,
case at all. It, and but really, it's people's levels of like comfortability. Like I'm a person who I make decisions really quickly, and I just move really very fast, but I'm also really okay with failure, like weirdly okay with it, because I just see it as you can't have success without failure. Like that's just
I
a
envy
rule of the
you.
universe.
I
Yeah.
envy. That's a beautiful skill that you have.
Yeah. I don't know where I got it from, because everyone else is like, no, everything needs to be perfect. Maybe I've just built enough evidence that it works, and I have real lived experience where I go, do you know what? I fucked up massively 10 times, but the 11th time was solid, and that then allowed me to do this. And I see so many people where the biggest challenge for them, and maybe they don't even see this, but the biggest challenge that I see is like inaction, procrastination, perfectionism, like just indecisiveness. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
talking to
hello.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm sure I was chatting about this week. Almost all decisions, beyond maybe having a child, is probably the only one I can really think of. Pretty much everything else is like reversible, as in, even if you get married, you can get divorced. If you buy a
Yeah.
house, you can sell a house. Like, yeah, some of them are very painful and expensive, but changing your branding is not a decision that you should spend a year thinking about.
Yes.
What color is in your logo, and I find that people, maybe it's like a projection, maybe it's a distraction, maybe people think, well, if I just faff about doing a website rebrand that takes me a year, I don't have to face the fact that my prices are terrible, or that there's something else that's really important that I need to do, or I need to build my confidence, or I don't know, do some education, whatever. But yeah, the way that I teach, the first thing I say when I teach people is like, you're just going to hate me. You're going to hate me because I'm going to absolutely kick your ass, and I'm going to make you be so specific, not like, I just want to grow. I'm like, tell me how.
Yeah.
Specific, tell me, tell me, tell me. Because, it just doesn't work otherwise. Like, I can be nice, I deliver it in a very nice way. I'm not shameful. There are coaches and educators who move people by making them not feel very good. I don't
Yeah.
really believe in that. It's not my jam. Um, but I will very compassionately and lovingly kick your ass, because I think people deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, you're trying, Crystal. I see you trying. I'm like, no, Crystal, let's do something. Let's stop procrastinating. Like, let's take some action. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to work, and people who like it, like it. It's not for everyone, but yeah, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you don't value all of your personal value is not centered around you being a hairstylist, right?
No.
To me, it seems like you're a very confident person in your own regard. You do things in your life that bring you joy and make you happy that are outside of who you are as a hairstylist. And
Yeah,
it kind of sounds like that's how you coach people, is like you need to find your confidence separate from what you're charging in
absolutely.
the salon.
Yeah, like when people are like, my business is my life, or my business is my baby, I'm like, oh, that's dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
because if you remember the beginning of the pandemic, like we were given shutdown orders like April 2020, and we had like a collective identity crisis, myself included, because it was like, who am I if I'm not a stylist? Who am I if I'm not a salon owner? And that was hard, but I took that as a real lesson. Like, I need to be me beyond the work that I do, and all of these other identifiers. And we can look, and it doesn't mean, again, it's not black and white. Like, we don't then become this ball breaker CEO, you know white guy in a suit for having made that decision. But I think it's just important to see ourselves as this like whole person that's really multifaceted. There is so much to us that isn't just this, because if that disappears, that starts to get really scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And then everything gets
Yeah.
confusing and you don't know what you're doing in your business then.
Yeah, like I had this mindset that when I stopped doing hair, when I had surgery, and my coaching was busy, so it was kind of good timing anyway. I was like, oh my God, no one will want to hire me because I'm not behind the chair, and like that's why people hire me. I For the last year and a half, any new people who've worked with me have not even asked me. Like, they don't even, I don't even think they've asked me whether I ever work behind the chair, because it's I could not have, and they wouldn't know, because my it shifted it's now shifted the way that I teach from I did this and this worked and this will work for you to I have taught 17,000 other people, it worked for them. So and I think this a lot with coaching. Like, why would I need to do hair? Like, I would just be doing it to kind of tick the box to be like, yeah, I'm behind the chair. Like, I did hair for a bunch of time. I've owned salons. I did did the whole
Yeah.
pandemic. And weirdly, I think that if I went back and did hair now, I would run my business completely different because of what I've learned in the last 2 years. So when I teach people now, I'm almost saying like, do some of the stuff I did, but actually there's all this new stuff that I, have learned that I can apply to, behind the chair. Yeah, I think we're constantly learning. Like,
Yeah.
it's incessant. It does my husband's head in. I'll be stood in like completely random, like a tire shop, and I'll be like, I've just had an idea about like how they do something, and we could do it like this, or like in hairdressing. And I think
Yeah.
as long as you don't lose that, we can learn so much from other industries. I think it's problematic when we just stay really insular and just go, well, this is how we've always done it, or this
Yeah.
is, this is the done thing. I'm like, no, sod that. It doesn't work. Like,
Right.
we've seen that it doesn't work. We need to start looking at new ways of doing things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find myself thinking about that all the time. And especially other service based industries, you see how
Mm,
they do stuff and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And I didn't even
we could
question it
do
as a
this.
customer. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I find the whole, when you realize, like, this is why I love coming to the States, because I think you guys the way you run businesses is different. And I think you're never afraid to like offer an upgrade or ask for the sale or charge people more for, a different level. And I remember we were there, and I think we've got this at home now, but we were getting a delivery, let's say like an Uber Eats, and they were like, do you want it at a normal time or do you want it faster? And I was like, who would ever pay for this? Until every takeout we got was not that hot because they'd had 5 other deliveries. So I was like, let's just pay the $2.99. And it was delicious. It like did the whole meal justice. I was like, this is now worthwhile because it was expensive. We're in LA. And I was like, that's the best $2.99 I've spent. Because it completely changed the whole meal. I got it, and I'm a big like convenience person. Like, I will absolutely pay more money for convenience. I'm
Yeah.
busy. I don't want to sit and wait for stuff. And that was a big lesson. Is like, okay, how can we take that and put that into hair businesses? And even stuff like changing the perception of, if a service is shorter, it should be cheaper. Well, what about if it's shorter, it's more expensive? Because it's then an express version, because actually people pay more money to have a service done in a faster time. So
Right.
it's just like, yeah, just stuff like that. And just kind of challenging the norm, I guess, the status quo of the ideas. But I think we get that from really, you know, being lucky enough to travel or to experience other businesses, and always thinking, as the buyer, what did I like about this? What did I not like about this? How can I learn from this? Maybe my clients are the same. How are they different?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just assuming like, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's this way forever and ever. Like, that's
Yeah.
not a great way to grow
Right.
business.
No, it's not at all. Yeah. I actually recently stopped working behind the chair like a month ago,
Congrats.
which is, thank you. It had kind of been like dwindling down, but I still had those like few clients that I would
Yeah.
see that, I was not, married to them, but I was married to the idea of like holding on to that piece of me that worked behind the chair.
Yeah, it's the identity of like, I still work behind the chair. So well done, because
Right.
I know it's hard to lose that, or to let go of that. Yeah.
It is, but I've seen in the last month, it's just been a very quick amount of time, but I've already seen the transition in my mind and how I'm thinking as a coach and an entrepreneur with all of these different things too. Yeah, where I recognize like, oh, that's something I could talk about with my students. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
something I could do. And I wouldn't have had that same thought and opportunity had I
Yeah.
been focused on something completely different, right?
I love that. Yeah.
It's really fascinating because I hadn't really thought about this at all until I'm hearing you
Yeah.
talking about this. I'm like, oh God, that is
Yeah.
me.
Well, when I stopped, and I did the same, where I kind of tapered off, and if anyone left, I didn't fill the space. But you do end up with like a core group of people who no matter how much you put your price up, no matter how far you move away, like they will just keep coming. So the back surgery was great in a way because I was like, guys, I'm not coming back. Like I'm
Yeah.
having surgery. So I
Sorry.
was like, cool, I'm off the hook. It only took a removal of my spinal cord.
Oh,
Um, but anyway, and my husband was like, well, why don't you just keep a handful of them because it's like super easy money. You love them, you love what you do. But I was like, it's the bandwidth, and I felt like I had to put my hairdresser hat on. Even if I had 3 clients, I'd be like, right, have I got the stock that I need? Have I managed my diary? And whether it's 3 or 300, that's the same for me. So
yes.
to just completely go, I'm taking this hat off and I'm not putting this back on again. And now I wear, full-time coach hat. And I completely agree. It really expands, I guess, your capacity in that role and how you are processing things in your brain. Like everything goes through this lens of how can I now use this to help my people, like my community.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I'm really pleased that you've had that experience and that realization because, and I just think you want to focus on something. I don't want to half-ass two things. I want to full-ass one thing. Try and do this really well. Is that it?
I'm gonna turn that into a hashtag. Hashtag full
Yeah, that's
ass.
like like get that on a pillow.
I love it. Oh
Motivational
man.
quote.
Yeah. Okay. So, Maddie, will you tell me about your business and what that looks like for you these days as a coach?
Yeah, sure. So, um, when I started Boss Your Salon, which was February 2018, full disclosure, it was always a side hustle. I just never in a million years even comprehended that this could be like what I do full time. The first thing that I ever made was like, well, I've had free groups and I still do, but the first paid thing I had was a £3.50 ebook. And I literally remember the name of the first person who bought that. And I was like, oh my God, I've just made 350, and I wasn't £3.50, not 350. And I wasn't behind the chair and I didn't have to pick anything up. And I
Yeah.
was just sat watching TV, and I mean that just I will never forget that feeling, and that was incredible. Um and now my suite of offers has slightly changed from that, although I do a lot of like free bits and bobs. Um and I kind of like tried on different things. I was very much like, well, I know about sales and marketing and online stuff and automations and numbers and whatever, but it wasn't really until I completely focused on pricing that everything just changed. It felt like it was overnight. And there were people who were like, you've come out of nowhere. And I was like, I've been here for like 2 years,
Uh-huh.
just beavering away. But I get it. It just looked like from an outside perspective to be absolutely crazy. And it was at the beginning of the pandemic, and after I had my identity crisis about the salon closing, and a kind of little breakdown as we all did. That was a hard time. I just kind of thought, this goes one way or another. Like this goes horribly, or I can really distract myself. It's probably from a bit of a selfish place. Like I can distract myself and completely throw myself into service of other people, helping people in my group. And I found that it was such a really bad time for misinformation. People were getting their information from sharing on Facebook, not the government or wherever we might have
Yeah.
tried to get information from.
Yeah.
Oh, and like we, in this country, the prime minister was doing a briefing every day. I did a briefing every day. So when he finished, I would do like a no nonsense. Okay, for us, this is what this means, and this is how we interpret this. And to the point where people's husbands were saying, "Just wait till Maddie does hers." Like she'll tell you. It became like this whole thing, and my group just grew really big. And yeah, I just asked one question in my Facebook group, which was, if I put something together about pricing, would you be interested? And that one post literally changed my life. It changed many thousands of people's lives, and I'm very pleased that I asked it. And yeah, that led me to create a calculator, which was a spreadsheet, is now an app. I then did a free masterclass, which I still run now, and then things went on from there. And just to give you a perspective of timescales, that was April 2020. By August, I begged my husband to leave his job that he'd worked in for 10 years. he was very good at was high up, made good money, and I was like, I cannot go back to the salon. I can't run this and do my hair clients. They're all expecting me to come back. Um, yeah, so I basically like begged him to leave his job. I was like, please, I'll pay you. Which he did, and he's worked with me ever since. He is the opposite of me, very introverted. You'll very rarely see him. He is
Uh-huh.
very much like, he's like, don't put me on camera, like I'm just behind the scenes, all of that.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so he helps me out with like all the admin and that sort of thing. And yeah, now because this is completely online, I do like some face to face like talks and panels and stuff, but like 99% of it's online because a massive value for me is freedom, flexibility, travel. It's what I love.
Yep.
Didn't get to do a lot of it when I was younger. We just didn't have the money or the time to do it. And we don't have kids, we don't want kids. And I'm like, the great thing about not having kids, you can just do whatever you want and you can travel everywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you probably could with kids, might be a little bit harder. But yeah, like my friend jokes that like I'm gonna lose my tax residency because I'm just never in the UK anymore. It's like he thinks that I'm doing something like highly illegal, but yeah, we were like in LA we did 4 weeks in February. We're back for 5 weeks over the summer. We're in Portugal now. I'll be in Paris between times. Last year we did one trip, Vegas, Chicago, New York. I think I flew like 30 times last year.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so it's just even now this has been our reality for like the best part of a couple of years. It Every day I just lose my shit about how this is even a thing. But because I live this, it's made me so much more adamant that this is available to everyone, like to other people, because on paper, again, full disclosure, like I am the least qualified person to be doing what I do. Like if I'd have like, and I'm really honest about that, like I don't have a degree. I left school at 16, like I don't have a business qualification, like I don't have an MBA. Um, but I do have results, like massive results for first for me and then for all these other people. Um, and going back to your point before, like I have confidence and I feel okay fucking stuff up every now and again. And I feel like they're a really magical combo. Like I have no fear of visibility. I think that holds people back massively,
Yes.
which is so sad because I've worked with brilliant people who I know would be like phenomenal educators and coaches. They have such a gift and so much knowledge to share, but they're like, no, I couldn't be on camera, or I couldn't hear my voice, or
I
so
know. Yeah.
that's I feel like that's my next task is to kind of go, you listen to me about pricing, let's listen to me now about, being visible and sharing your expertise. And what I find kind of crazy is these people who believe that love following me. They love hearing my perspective. They love that I'll just randomly go live. And I'm like, so you see the benefit when I do it, and that's why you chose to follow me, because I share my perspective and my beliefs, and I, pick my side and I talk about that. Yet they're not prepared to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a tricky one. But yeah, this is our like full-time thing. And what I find funny, because it's what I would call like a modern job, half of our family like have no idea what we do. Like try and try, I find it really funny. Like I got detained flying into the States because we were like on business for a little bit, and I tried to describe after an 11-hour flight in my accent what I do for a living, and the guy at border in the US was like, "What?" Like he just had no idea. Um, our families are like, "Have you done any classes today?" They just kind of know that we do something with laptops and
Yeah.
seem to go on holiday quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's incredible, and I think if this is our life, when it kind of shouldn't be. I don't want to say it like that, but it doesn't make sense in a way. Then I just think, Jesus, this is available to so many people, and I'm loving seeing this real shift in wealth, in money. Like it is complete. There are like kids making millions on TikTok and YouTube
Mm-hmm.
came from poverty, and I love that the internet and the digital world has given people a way to expand their income in heaps and heaps of different ways. And hairdressers can do that. Even if you don't want to be a coach or educator, there are a lot of ways that we can be maximizing revenue and income and profits and stuff like that. But
Oh,
we've just got to
absolutely.
kind of get okay with using it. I find again the industry is a bit resistant to tech. They're
Yes.
like, I'm not techie. I'm like, you are techie, but
Yeah.
yeah, being open to that will make you money.
Yeah. I'm curious to circle back and ask you about your app. Um,
Yeah.
so for one, like tell me how creating an app was for you, and
Hmm.
then two, what exactly does the app entail?
Yeah, so the app in its very first iteration it was just maths in my head that I'd used. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is the thing. Like I could, mine would be on bits of paper. And then I wrote it out into a spreadsheet, and we sold the spreadsheet. Like that was the first thing that people bought, like the calculator. That was in 2020. And yeah, then I just thought spreadsheets are pretty high, not high risk, but they're very easy to break. People don't really like the look of them because they feel like they're complicated. People were accidentally deleting formula.
Yes.
It was just getting fucked up all the time.
Yeah.
And then they'd wipe their computer, or they wanted to go on their phone, then it had disappeared. So I was like, right, there needs to be an easier way. So I reached out to someone I know who's a developer. Interestingly, it was the first thing he ever made out of school, which is just insane, out of a course that he did. And I was like, oh, do you think, if I send you this spreadsheet, if I, walk you through it, could you put this together? So I didn't like code it. I'm not a coder.
Yeah.
My theory is always pay people who are better than you to do stuff that you can't do or don't want to
Oh, yeah.
do. Yeah, I probably would have tried to learn once upon a time, but I was like, no, you can do it. And yeah, I'm very big on like feedback from your community. So constantly, we did like a first version, second version. Like if people were mistaken something or something didn't make sense to them, I was like, right, we need to learn from this. We need to change this and implement this straight away. Um, and we just kind of constantly updated it and reiterated it. It's technically a web app, so it's not like on the App Store because we wanted it to be on any device. So, for example, if I logged in now on my phone, everything would be how I left it when I last logged in on my laptop. If
Mm,
both of those things broke and I logged in on someone else's device, everything's still there. We had it, we had someone try and ethically hack it. So I hired an ethical hacker. She couldn't get in. That was cool
nice.
because it's like got people's obviously finances and stuff like that in there. Um, yeah, so the calculator is made up of that, and it's super easy to use. Like everything's like in my branding, it's like pink and yellow and cute.
Hmm.
And then there's we have like associated modules to just talk people through every step. So it gets to literally like module 6, and it's like open the calculator. This is the first screen. This is how you need to think about this, because I wanted to make it like super straightforward for people to use, especially people who self-identified as I'm not good at numbers, I'm not good at tech, all of
Yes.
that stuff. And yeah, so we built it like that. We have a Facebook group which has been around since 2020. So when I say I've been asked every question on pricing, I challenge you. Like someone needs to write to me and ask something that I've not heard, like a really obscure, weird question. But that all exists in the group. We're currently building out like a knowledge based FAQ. So like any question ever is going to be like searchable, so we can make it a bit easier. Um, but yeah, it's we try to quantify the impact that it's had, which is hard because obviously people buy it at different periods. Some people implement it, some people don't. Some people take a little while longer. But we did some maths, and we really like underestimated everything. We went really kind of worst case scenario. We were like, let's just assume only 50% of people have even used it, the rest haven't even opened it. And we worked out that it's increased the profits of the industry by £33 million, which is like
Wow.
maybe, I don't know, 40, $45 million, something like that in profit. Which sounds crazy. There have been a couple of people couple of men, let's be honest, Crystal, have challenged me on that and said I don't believe it. And I'm like, actually, that's not even a high amount. When you know how many people have used it, it's it's not a remarkable amount. And like I get DMs where people have said, I've just done my taxes and I've made 33,000 profit, more than what I made last time. So yeah, it it works, but it only works if you do it.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's not magic. You don't just buy it and then your life changes overnight and you don't have to do anything.
Right.
I haven't invented that yet. Um, and this is why I always call in people who are prepared to do the work, who are prepared to take responsibility and actually just put in like a couple of hours to change everything. I'm not a, if people come to me and say, "Can you do it for me?" No.
Right. Right.
Yeah, like they have to. And I had this decision right at the beginning where I remember chatting to Aidan and I was like, maybe I should just make it so that I do it. Like I'll do the calculations and then I'll just tell you what your prices need to be. Obviously, I need to charge more for my time for that. But I thought, God, that's really disempowering because if I came to you, especially if I've just charged you like, I don't know, $500 and was like, okay, here's your price list. If you looked at those prices and they were maybe a little bit higher than what you anticipated, you're not going to charge them. You're going to have no confidence to charge them. You're not going to
Yes.
understand them. You're going to hate me and you're going to think that I've just ripped you off. And
Right.
then nothing would change and you'd just be really angry. um, and I don't believe in teaching people like that. It's not, I'm not like this guru who has all the answers and the magic wand, but I am good at teaching people like how to think in a way that'll be really helpful or giving them the tools that'll really help them that they then, go and use. And yeah, there's people get obsessed with the calculator. Like every week they'll be like, if I bought this, if I want this bag, how much do my prices need to be? Or, if I want to drop a day or hire an assistant or get a second location. And it becomes a bit addictive because you can really plan out all these different, scenarios and eventualities. So I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted people to feel okay seeing numbers and getting them to make the link in their head between if I want these things as an output, this is what has to be charged. That's
Yeah.
the magic in it, I think.
Well, and it gives someone something tangible to feel like
Hmm.
I bought something, right?
Hmm.
So this is my tool, this is the thing I have, but really what they're
Yeah,
getting and they don't realize they're getting is like the mindset, right?
absolutely.
That
It's a
comes with
shift in the
it.
confidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people kept saying at the beginning, they were like, it's really eye opening. I got that like every single day. And I was like, I didn't understand that because I thought, well, it's just numbers. It's not that eye opening. But when I dug deeper, people said, like, once I saw the number at the end, so it'll basically give you your entire price menu, every single price for every single service, every variation. It's not like this is your hourly rate. It's like this is what you need to charge for a full head of foils and a money piece, like super specific. And when people said it's eye opening, it was because they knew if I don't charge this, because I've put all of the inputs in myself, I have to make a sacrifice somewhere. So, yes, it might feel uncomfortable because it's maybe a bit of a jump. But if I don't, they could really quickly calculate like, I don't get that many weeks off. I will have to work an extra hour every day. I'll not to be able to put money away for that retreat that I really want to go on. So, getting them to see how that worked. And also, do you know, we're all quite bad at giving little freebies where we're like, well, I'll not charge that. It's only $2 or $5. It made them really conscious that like, yes, that feels tiny when it's one every day or, twice a day, but they could really see how that added up on the back end. And they saw that that turned into like 1,000 or 2,000, every year or 2 weeks of work or whatever that was for them. And this is just why I love the number side of it because you just can't argue. You can be pissed at it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
with your education, do you have a specific, like, ideal client in mind? Like, where are they in their career exactly? Or is it kind of like
Yeah.
everyone?
So for me, it's less about where they are in their career and it's more about their attitude. Like this is what I've learned. Um, we actually now have this really nice kind of pathway for people. So we've just I've decommissioned a couple of things. There's something that I'm working on at the moment, which I can probably tell you about because, like, whatever, I'll give you like an exclusive. Yeah, this isn't like public knowledge. So the way that it'll look in the next couple of months is that I have a free masterclass, which is about price and money mindset. That will always be free. I will probably run that until the day I die. And that is where everyone should start. But it's totally suitable whether you're in school, whether you've been in the industry for 50 years, because that is about changing your mind as it relates to, worth and value and pricing and money mindset and all of this stuff. That I think is crucial for anyone. And the more I do this, the more that I won't work with people at higher levels until they've done this. The next stage is the pricing calculator. So that's paid. Again, that's a non-negotiable. Like, you will not get into my group programs. I will not work with you one-to-one unless you've done that, because we cannot out strategy bad prices.
Right.
It will just be so hard. So hard. It would be like spending £1 million renovating a house where the foundations are in quicksand.
Yeah.
Which is not a good idea.
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Yeah. So I just thought that one. So kind of everyone comes to me through that. And then I have the thing that I'm working on at the moment is to help people to become fully booked. And it's going to be for people, again, possibly different business stages. It might be because you're starting out, or it might be because, going back to our previous conversation, of you're attracting clients who are not a good fit. There's like a disparity between the messaging and the price and the client and the work that you want to do, or you're doing a bunch of work that you don't really enjoy. It's going to be for people who want to attract clients who are a great fit. And I don't want to call it a marketing course, because I actually don't think it is. And it's not a social media course. It's actually more rooted in sales psychology, which is something I've learned loads about more recently. Really understanding where your client is at psychologically and exactly what they need to know and believe and think at every stage. A lot of people claim that I'm psychic, because I'm not, because everyone always says I saw exactly what I just needed to hear that today. If you look in nearly every comment of every post, Maddi, I needed to hear that today. I know that you did, because like, that's how I know that, because I knew that the post I posted yesterday would lead you to this, and this is what you needed to hear today. And like, that's not something that I would hide. Like, that's literally what, what good business is. So I want to teach people to do that, but as it relates to their clients, behind the chair. And that's going to be coming out we're going to be launching that next couple of months. And then I have a program called Breakthrough, which is the only place where I do one-to-ones, where I work with very small groups. At the minute, it's 8 people. And that is actually for people who are fully booked or beyond fully booked, who want to drop a day per week without sacrificing profits. So the new thing is like going to bridge that gap between your prices are right and you're not quite at this stage where you're full and you want to start reducing. Because I see there's some brilliant marketing courses, brilliant social media courses. I'm very much a fan of, like, do the least amount of work that you need to do to get the biggest impact.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to be on TikTok. I can't be bothered to be on TikTok, and I don't have to, because I know how to be very good on Instagram.
Right.
And I can like drop off Instagram for 2 weeks and come back and have like a post go viral, because I'm like super intentional and strategic about how I post. So everyone's really busy. I don't want to teach you how to be on 15 platforms and all of this stuff. I just want to teach you to know exactly what your person needs to hear. So that's what that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, Breakthrough I've loved. That's only been around since last year. And what I found is that's really naturally attracted probably who you were about a year ago, 2 years ago, where it's this person who has aspirations to be a coach or an educator, but they are just so busy behind the chair. And again, I saw other courses that were like, I'll teach you the tech setup, I'll teach you this. And I'm like, no, you need time. Like, you don't, you like, until you have time, you cannot do. I mean, you'll know this, Crystal, like how much goes into the background of people just see you on Instagram doing lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
More than I ever imagined.
It's like a new level of hell.
Right.
Learning how to do. Yeah, I'm like, when did I learn how to write automations and
Yeah.
all of this crazy stuff that we find ourselves doing. Um, so yeah, but again, it's like, this is how I think, is like, what does a person need? Like, I always kind of understand or ask people or learn about, when they get here, what's the next thing that they need? Okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think we can do exactly the same for clients behind the chair as well. And that's what I want to teach people to do. So in a very long way to answer your question, kind of most people at most stages will find what they're looking for, but there's a very clear progression of, this is where you start, and then they can kind of take it up to, wherever they feel they want to stop, or and it might get to a point where they go, I've learned everything with you, I want to go and learn from someone else. And I'm also a big believer in, don't just have one coach, don't just have one educator, like,
Yeah.
you know work with whoever is the best fit at that period in time. And
Yes.
we don't own anyone.
Yes,
um
exactly.
yeah, I'm always just so happy to have had people ask to work with me. So
Mm-hmm.
um and it's nice to like release people, like the people who are leaving Breakthrough this month. I'm just like immensely proud. Like, out of 8 of them, 4 of them have launched their education, like 2 into colleges. And I feel like they're going to change the world in their own ways as well. So it's just been, I'm just super proud of them. And I've loved working with people at that level, like working with them really closely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also, because I've been asked twice today to do one-to-ones, and I'm just like, I just don't do them. Like,
Yeah.
outside of Breakthrough, because again, it's like my values of freedom and travel, so it just doesn't fit in the same way that I say no to a lot of opportunities in person, because it just doesn't fit in.
It doesn't leverage your time the same way that you can with your other
No.
business too, right?
Yeah, and it's just think, it's again, the lesson maybe for people is to really think about like what you want to get out of your business and what's really important to you, because just because it's an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean it's the right one. And sometimes people think you're crazy for passing something up. But it's like, beyond ego, beyond feeling cool that I got asked to do this thing, it it's a ball ache, or like it just doesn't fit into my sort of plan. So my new way of thinking is, if I can do it from another country, if I can do it from a laptop, I mean, really, if someone wants to like hire me to speak in a really sunny place, I'm very open to that invitation. If anyone listening has
Uh-huh.
that, I'm always very cheeky, I'll ask. But yeah, like, for me, in person stuff just doesn't work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it just isn't my cup of tea. And learning to discern between when it's the ego that wants something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having this at the moment with award ceremonies. Like, the ego runs rampant for me, because I'm like, I want to win awards, but then entering them, going to them, is very stressful. So
Yes. Very
all of
time
these
consuming.
psychological lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, on the day, everyone's so stressed. Then if you don't win, it's like, feels really hard. And yeah, that's my next mental challenge, is to try
Yeah.
and decipher that and whether it's worthwhile or not. So
Yeah.
if I win some this year, I'll be happy and I'll come back. If I don't win any, I'm going to spit my dummy and never enter anymore.
I love it.
Yeah, that's the rules.
So Maddie, I'm curious, are you part of any mastermind groups yourself, or do you belong to any like coaching groups?
So I have been in a coaching group with a coach called Your.Hair, who is insanely talented, and I absolutely love her. And she coached me through setting up Breakthrough. So that's a group it's a bit meta. It's a group coaching program about how to set up group coaching
Yeah,
programs, as
yeah.
is the case in the
Right.
coaching world.
Yes.
Um, and I've been in that for about 10 months. So it's a year-long program. So that's going to end in over the summer. And I have just started, very, very early doors, just started working with a consultant who is not in the industry. I really like working with people not in the industry for, like, as we said before, getting those kind of ideas, that external perspective. So we're going to be working with him, and he's actually local to me. So I'm going to be, when I'm in the country, seeing him in person. Because again, just sometimes just season shifts. Like, I think, you just get what you need from a particular container, and then it's time to kind of change things up a little bit. I've always had coaches though, and genuinely, like, don't try and do it all yourself. It is so hard and it is so time consuming, and there are so many mistakes to be made, and it's overwhelming. If
Yeah.
you open Google and type in how to do an online course, you will get millions of often conflicting information to say, do it this way, no, do it this way, try this, try this, try this. I have always made my money back on coaching,
Mm-hmm.
often very quick, like very quickly. Um, but I'm very attracted to coaches who give very good results.
Yeah.
Not like the airy fairy level up. I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to get an ROI. I want to know when I'm going to do everything.
Yes.
Um, which is just my cup of tea. And that's how I like to coach as well. And I've got a wonderful coach called Carrie who helps me with a lot of like kind of mindset stuff. She's in the industry, so she's like understands brands and things like that. So I like to have a kind of behind the scenes, I guess it's like the council of Bossy Salon, like wise counsel. So I'll kind of run things past different people and get their opinions. I have a therapist who gets to hear everything as well, because I just think we just can't do it by ourselves. I also have it's kind of a mastermind, very unofficial, but I've got a group of other coaches from the UK, so Haley, Viv, and Emma, and we chat every single day. So they do what I do, but in kind of different niches of the industry,
Yeah.
because it would be so isolating. I would really, really struggle to do this by myself, and especially when you've never done it before, no one in your family's ever done it before, maybe no one in your friendship group's done it before. I think it's really important to have people to lean on, and you know, if times are hard, if times are really good, if you're celebrating, if you just want to run things past people, I think business becomes much easier and we can be more successful when we lean on other people, whether that is informal or formal or
Right.
paid or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I would never ever be if I hadn't have done that.
Yeah.
And
It's
in
very
particular, the ones
validating.
that I've invested in. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I think it's validating as a coach as well to remember that how we feel when we invest in coaching,
Yes.
because in theory it's the same when people invest in us as well. And also I love being coach. I love going through programs because you not only learn the thing that you're there to learn, but you learn about what feels good as a student, what doesn't feel good as a student. Like, so there's so much chance to learn about yourself and about the industry in various different ways, which
Mm-hmm.
you just wouldn't do if you were just reading blogs or on YouTube or podcasts. Like, they'll get you to a point, but
Right.
they wouldn't get you that far, I don't think. Yeah.
Have you gone to any either industry specific or maybe coach specific like retreats that you've liked, or have you ever done any of those?
No, but I would love to. I
Yeah.
mean, that is like ideal for me because it's travel. I I'm in this really weird position where my best friends, so like my four best friends all have businesses, and it's like crazy unlikely. And I know I'm so lucky to have this. Two of them I've known since I was like 15, 16, 17. And we kind of do retreats. So we'll hire like a nice Airbnb and we'll go and do, bits and bobs of business. And I love that. And I'd love to do that more. But I've never been on a quote unquote official one.
Yeah.
And I think that you guys do this very well. I feel like a lot of coaches in the States, they're big
Yes.
into this. It's not that much of a thing back home.
Mm.
I would also love to host them. This would be a really fun thing, I think, to do.
I could see you hosting one, which is why I brought it up. I'm like, I feel like you have that
Yeah.
kind of spirit and energy to make something like that come into fruition.
Yeah, I would love, I mean, it's my favorite things. I could sit all day on Airbnb looking at nice big villas and houses. Like, that's
Yeah.
my dream. Yeah, I already kind of have an idea of who I'd pull together and who would deliver, different bits. Like, I know that. And that's, I think, another kind of tip back to what you said about, your community and stuff like that is people band out this whole like community over competition, but I so firmly believe it. Like, if I was really insular and I was like, I can't talk to anyone, I wouldn't do this podcast because what if I said something and Crystal copied it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
or
Right.
I'm gonna block everyone on Instagram so they can't see what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
how miserable that would be.
Awful.
And the more that I reach out to other people and they reach out to me. And, you know, when I was in LA, I got to meet a couple of people that I'd worked with digitally, and I've been able to do that a bunch of times, and I just love that. I just think we're so much stronger like together, and we can connect each other. Sometimes if something's like not a good fit for me, I'm like, okay, I know a person who could do this, and they do the same back. And yeah, it's like when on an island, we just can't work like that. But it's
Right.
hard when you've been behind the chair where it is really isolating, or it feels really competitive or really fierce. But I think in the coaching world, you just can't be like that at all. It just wouldn't work.
Well, I feel like the same can be said about the hair world, just as
Yeah,
hairstylists. Yeah, you can work by yourself and be a solo person, but it's lonely. Or you can recognize
yeah,
that there's enough clients for everybody and you can all
yeah,
support
yeah,
each other. And then it turns into this like beautiful working relationship you have with other
yeah.
hairstylists and you all help each other and you grow together. I think it's been interesting for me to recognize that in the coaching
Hmm.
world too. And like as I
Yeah.
step out of the role sometimes of hairstylist
Hmm.
Crystal, now it's like, oh, I'm coach Crystal. And so now I have
Hmm.
to find my people in the coaching
Hmm.
world, just like I found my people in the hair world, you know?
Yeah, it's like starting a new school and going,
Yeah.
can we be friends?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like again, much to my husband's dismay, you can just put me in a room and I'll be like, who
Oh,
are you?
same.
What's your name? Yeah, I think it's the
Yes.
hairdresser thing, isn't it? Like
Yes.
the great thing about being a hairdresser is that we're very good at making friends and building communities. But I think that's integral. Like I say, not just the when times are bad, but when times are really good. Like it's so hard when you don't have anyone in your life who kind of gets it, or they're
Yes.
trying to give you advice, often well intended but very misplaced advice on what to do.
Yeah.
It's so important to have that sort of community aspect, and but be mindful of it. You know, I'm being biased because I love my group, but there are some groups I'm in that it's like cutthroat, catty, like so scarce, so negative,
Yeah. Not here for
awful,
that.
not my cup of tea. No,
No.
I just want like the high vibe community support. You know, everyone's
Yes.
helping each other out. Yeah, that's the way to go. But yeah, I feel like I'm so I don't like properly know you. I feel very proud of you that you've
Oh,
stepped into Coach Crystal, and
thank
I'm just
you.
so excited for you because I know what's like ahead and around the corner, and it's magic, and you can help so many people. You know, you can impact so many people. Like when I stopped doing hair, I was like, I did extensions mainly. So I was like, I can do three people's hair a day
Hmm.
on a good day and impact three people, or I can impact 300 people to impact 100 people each.
Ooh, that just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's like, it's a no brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's about knowing that, yes, I've got a gift for hair, but my gift for coaching and educating can help just so many more people in so many ways. And I couldn't even comprehend how amazing that would feel. Like I got stopped at Glastonbury Festival. I mean, this girl was like hammered. It was really cute. And she was like, I've used your calculator. She was a dog groomer.
Oh my
She
gosh.
stopped me. Yeah, I get stopped like it's so weird.
I saw you
I've
mention
been
the dog groomer on your social media, and I was
yeah,
like, that's so
the dog
funny.
groomers. Yeah, I got a girl called Daisy just came on my class. She was like, "Oh, I think this might work for us." And then she was so nice and recommended me and I guess other groups. And one day we got like 20 dog groomers into the group. So yeah, it works. It's the
Yeah.
same strategy, but
Yeah.
yeah, I had someone at a wedding before was like, "I've used your calculator to change my life." I mean, hair events are crazy.
Yeah.
Like my husband's like, you're like this like micro celebrity in the hair world. It's
Uh-huh.
like so weird,
It
especially
is.
because the business grew over lockdown where everything was on the internet. Everything I just existed in a little box,
Yeah.
and then to have like flesh and blood people stop me in the ladies' room and be like, I can pick my kid up from school because of you. I'm like, this is
Oh, I feel
like,
like that would make me just instantly cry and hug them at the same
oh
time. Like, oh,
yeah, it's I'm like, I'm awkward, I'm cringe, I'm happy, but I'm
yeah.
also like, oh, this I feel really uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
um I'm trying to be a bit more cool now. Arguably not, but the first few times, like I think it was like a couple of award ceremonies, like after the lockdowns, And I was just a mess. I was like, I don't know how to react to this. Like, I'm really pleased, but like, this is weird. Whereas now I'm like, I think I have to just accept it, and you'll be the same.
Yeah.
You just have to accept that you can help people and that
Yeah.
they're really amped up about it. But yeah, it's just brilliant. Like I would not, I can't imagine doing anything that isn't this,
Yeah.
unless it's to help people in some other way that can, help more people. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's such a
That's
great
amazing.
like gift to share with people.
Uh-huh. Oh, Maddie, this has been so great. Thank you. I really appreciate all
Thank
this.
you. Thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I just glanced at the time here and I'm like, oh, we went over our hour time. And so
Every time.
effortlessly. Yeah, right. I know. As
Yeah.
hairdressers, we tend to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess I kind of want to wrap up our conversation by having you tell my listeners where they can find your information.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'll have to say this in American because it turns out it doesn't translate. So when I say boss your salon, they're like, what? And I'll go, boss your salon. And they're like, oh, okay. So there you go. It's boss your salon. And that's me everywhere. That's me on Instagram, on where am I? I am on TikTok, but I mainly just watch Pedro Pascal videos. I don't really like anything. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, my website, and everything's where you expect it to be. It's in my bio links and stuff like that. But yeah, like I'm very open, DM me, like I'm a person. I love to chat with people. If
Hmm.
there's anything that you want to ask or that you found helpful, just shoot me a message or an email and I'll have a chat.
Wonderful. And then you recommend everyone starting with the what was
Do
the
the
first step?
masterclass.
The master
Yeah,
class.
so do the free masterclass. Yeah, it's called How to Overcome the Five Most Common Pricing Mistakes. Um, Consider it free. I feel like it's my masterpiece to the world, if I can blow my own trumpet briefly. Um,
Yeah.
Literally do it 10 times. Like sometimes you have to watch it 10 times and then you go, okay, this makes sense. So
Mm.
just literally every time you have a wobble, just re-register, show up to a session until the penny drops and you realize that you deserve it and that the world won't end if you charge properly.
Oh, I love that. Love it. Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much. This is
My
truly a
pleasure. Thank
pleasure.
you.
I appreciate you taking time out of your sunshine and
Kind of
relaxation
vacation, yeah.
to chat with me.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for asking me. It's really kind of you.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see with your new projects how that unfolds for you. And I
Yeah,
wish you the best with everything. It sounds like you're really
thank
doing
you.
a wonderful thing for everyone in the industry. So,
Thank you.
from
And if
one
I'm in
coach,
Reno,
if
I'll
you're
come
ever
see
in
you.
Reno, please, yes. And
I
even if
will.
you're
Yeah, I'll
in
come and
Vegas, let me know because sometimes I travel
yeah,
down there for stuff too. So,
amazing. I'm sure
okay.
our paths will cross sometime in real life. I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
hope so. Maybe at a retreat if we're
Yes, watch
lucky.
this space. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm,
Or
I'm
maybe
sure we
you'll
can
be
work that out.
hosting. Maybe you'll be hosting a retreat that I'll come to.
We'll work out the details.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you so
Maddie.
much, Crystal.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
I'll
care.
see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, friend. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast. It has been my pleasure to be here as your host. Again, my name is Crystal Green. And until next time, my friend, as I always love to say, have a wonderful hair day, and I'll see you then. Okay, bye.